How's it going, everybody? My name is LuckyBunz, and in today's video we're going to be going through everything you need to know for the Galarian Expedition event in Pokémon GO. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, this event is going to be taking place from October 4th at 10 AM to October 11th at 8 PM local time. Now, interestingly enough, there's actually going to be no bonuses during this event, but we are going to have some new debut Pokemon. The first Pokemon is going to be Shiny Zamazenta, which we'll talk about later, and the second, or I guess technically the second, third, and fourth, are going to be the Shiny Galarian birds, Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. You're going to have a chance to encounter these from the daily adventure incense like normal, and according to the official blog post, Niantic also added the words "very lucky" to the chance of actually encountering these shiny forms, which implies that these are going to be incredibly rare. Now on top of that, according to speculative rumors, the shiny Galarian birds are also not supposed to be able to run away, but the catch rate will still be the same, which is going to be really low. I would probably recommend having at least 50 Ultra Balls and 50 Golden Raspberries. Some people might even recommend having more than that, but I think with at least that many you should be okay. Now finally, I also want to mention that after this event you're also going to have a chance to encounter these Pokemon, so this is going to be a permanent change to the daily adventure incense once this event actually starts. Now following that, let's go through the wild encounters that we're going to have available during this event, and we'll go through the best Pokemon to actually focus on from this pool later on in the video. You guys can skip ahead to that section right now if you want to on the timestamps down below. So first of all, we're going to have Nidoran male, Nidoran female, Abra, Magnemite, Wailmer, Spiel, Aron, Beldum, Shinx, Foongus, Dedenne, Wooloo, and then you're going to have a rare chance of encountering Chansey, Absol, and Emolga. Every single Pokemon that I just mentioned does also have a chance to be shiny. Now on top of that, we're also going to have special collection challenges that are going to be focused on catching and evolving certain Pokemon. We don't know which Pokemon just yet, but these rewards are usually pretty good, so I would recommend getting this done. And then we're also going to have special field research quests, which are going to award experience, Stardust, and then random encounters. It's actually kind of weird though, because normally Niantic does let us know which Pokemon are going to be available from field research, so I would have to imagine this is probably going to be one specific Pokemon, and they're just kind of keeping that hidden. Anyways though, let's move on to the next thing, which are going to be Pokestop XXL showcases, and we're going to go over my predictions as well. So like usual, we're going to have showcases featured during this event. These can get you some really good items in game like incubators, lucky eggs, star pieces, incense, and even lure modules if you end up placing first or second. So it's really important that you guys do hold on to certain Pokemon during this event, especially double extra large variants for the best chance at actually winning these showcases. Now during the Legendary Heroes event, I was actually able to predict both showcases, with the first one being Zacian and the second one being an all fairy type showcase. An all fighting type showcase was also featured at the same time during the all fairy type showcase, which I actually think was the first time they ran two different all type showcases at the same time, so that was kind of interesting. Now for this event, I'm going to predict Zamazenta, the Galarian birds, and possibly an all flying type showcase. As always though, I would love to hear your own predictions in the comment section down below. Next up, let's go over the legendary and mega raids that are going to be available during this event, and then we'll also talk about the shadow legendary that's going to be available over the weekend. So first of all, let's start off with Zamazenta, which is going to be available from October 4th to October 14th, so a little bit after this event actually ends too. Now very similar to Zacian, which is currently available in raids at the time of making this video, we actually haven't seen Zamazenta available in raids for a really long time. This will also be the debut of its shiny form across all Pokemon games, excluding that one GameStop release, which for main series Pokemon players, you may want to get your hands on an extra so you can actually send it over to Pokemon Home and use it in Pokemon Sword and Shield or even Scarlet and Violet. Now in terms of meta relevance, since Zamazenta doesn't have a fighting type fast move, it's honestly not as good as some of your other options out there. Like I know some of the rankings right now have recently changed in Pokemon GO, and some people might actually recommend Zamazenta as a fighting type Pokemon. To be completely honest with you though, I don't like running Pokemon that don't have stab on both of their moves, so basically that stands for same type attack bonus. In the case of Zamazenta, like some people might recommend to use it, you know, with a random fast move and then close combat as a charge move, but I don't know man, that just doesn't really feel right to me. And again, like with everything changing in Pokemon GO, there are going to be some situations where it's going to be okay to do that, but in most situations you do want to focus on stab. So again, I'm not going to recommend Zamazenta for that reason in the raid/gym meta. Now when it comes down to PvP for Zamazenta, it does have some meta relevance in the Open Master League, but in my opinion, it kind of ranks a bit too high to be meta relevant there. Anything after the top 40 honestly becomes a bit more niche in terms of playability, but again, it's totally up to you guys if you want to actually build one for the Open Master League. Rankings can always change in the future, you know, due to move shakeups and different movesets being added in, but for right now, Zamazenta not really looking like a big priority outside of the shiny. Now one thing I do also want to mention is that Zamazenta is going to be getting a Crown to Shield form eventually in the future in Pokemon GO, although that's probably not going to be for some time, so if you want to actually build up some candy on it right now, that might be a good way to actually prepare for that, but again, that's probably far down the line. Moving on from Zamazenta though, let's talk about our Mega Pokemon that's going to be available from the same time period. That is going to be Mega Blaziken from October 4th to October 14th. This is currently the #1 fire type attacker in the game, tied with Mega Charizard Y. Technically, Mega Charizard Y is like slightly better than it, so it's technically number 2, but I kind of rank them both as like number 1, right? They're so close together. Now, this can also be used as a top fighting type attacker as well with Counter plus Focus Blast. So Mega Blaziken definitely has a lot of play here, especially if you ended up missing Mega Lucario Raid Day a few weeks ago. For the ideal fire type moveset though, you want to ideally go with Fire Spin plus Blaze Kick. Now you might be wondering, well, shouldn't that be Blast Burn? You have Blast Burn on screen right now. So yes, Blast Burn was the preferred moveset that you would want to go with on Blaziken before the meta shakeup. Now it looks like Blaze Kick is going to be the preferred option. So for those of you guys that already have Blast Burn on your Blaziken, I wouldn't recommend getting rid of this moveset. What I would do instead is add a second charge move and then make that Blaze Kick, and then you can actually run both of them. When it comes down to Blaziken 2, it's actually a really cheap unlock. It's only 10,000 Stardust and 25 candies, so it definitely makes a lot of sense if you already have Blast Burn on your Blaziken. So basically when it comes down to these two Pokemon during this event, I would recommend doing at least 1 to 2 Mega Blaziken raids, and then using the rest of your free passes on Zamazenta. Now during the weekend from October 5th to October 6th, we're also going to have Shadow Entei available. For those of you out there who weren't able to get a good IV spread during the last 2 rotations of this Pokemon, this might actually be your last chance for a really long time. Shadow Entei is currently ranked as one of the top fire type attackers in the game right now, with its meta relevance being mainly in raid/gyms. Doesn't really have too much PvP relevance. Now the one downside to these Shadow raids is that they're going to be in person only, so you're going to have to get some players together, at least like 2 to 3 minimum with good counters. Now if I didn't already mention this as well, you also have the potential to get a Shadow Shiny Entei, and regardless of IVs, if you do end up getting this Pokemon, I do think it's worth powering up. Shadow Shinies are some of the rarest Pokemon to get in the game, and honestly, they're so much fun to run in battle. Circling back to Zamazenta though, I also want to go over the Zamazenta Raid Hour that's going to be available on October 9th at 6 PM local time. Most gyms around you are going to turn into Zamazenta raids, and the raids are also going to reset after 25 minutes, which means you can basically hit the same gyms again at the half-hour mark for Raid Hour, which is pretty convenient if you only have a few gyms around you. So I would encourage you guys to check Campfire for any local meetups during this Raid Hour, as it's probably going to be the best time to actually go out and raid this Pokemon. Now finally, to end off raids, let's go over the web store deal that's going to be available. This is going to be the same one that we actually had during the Legendary Heroes event for Zacian, and like I mentioned in that video, I don't really think this is going to be a great deal. Normally the web store deals are usually pretty good, but this one was kind of weak in my opinion. So for $5, it's going to be called the Ultra Raid Box, and you're going to get 3 remote raid passes and 1 premium raid pass. Now following that, let's go over the Masterwork Special Research that's going to be available for $8. Yeah, $8 guys. So this is going to award you 1 Master Ball, 18,000 experience, 10,000 Stardust, and encounters with Galarian Farfetch and Galarian Mr. Mime. Now for those of you who are unfamiliar with Masterwork Research quests, these are incredibly difficult and time-consuming to complete. For those of you that actually decide to purchase this, there is a possibility you won't even get it done during this event. The good news though is that these don't expire, so you can actually complete these at your own pace. Now with that being said though, I also want to go over some Master Ball lore in Pokemon GO. So this is going to be the 4th Master Ball that has been released in Pokemon GO, and it's going to be the first one that has actually been locked behind a paywall. With no other premium items offered, this means that this Master Ball is worth roughly $8. I know, that's kind of a high price point, don't you think? And it's kind of unknown if we're going to get more free Master Balls in the future, or if this is going to be the new standard moving forward. I actually still have all 3 of my Master Balls from the previous Special Research and Timed Research quests, so I'm not really hurting for this, but I know some of you guys out there probably don't even have a Master Ball, and it's going to be a consideration, right? In terms of the price point, the value is entirely dependent on you. In the comment section down below, I would love to actually know if you guys are going to purchase this or if you're going to just skip it. Again, $8 is kind of a high price point, but again, the Master Ball can catch any single Pokemon guaranteed, and you never know, you may end up having to actually use it on something really important. Keeping all that in mind though, since Master Balls have actually been in game for a while now, most players have actually used them on various Pokemon, with some of them being more worthy than others. So you might be asking yourself, what is actually worth using a Master Ball on? Well, by far the best choice in my opinion is having the Master Ball in case you actually encounter a Hundo legendary Pokemon from raid battles and you end up getting down to the last ball. I do actually know some players who have had their Hundos run away because they sadly did not have a Master Ball on hand. Personally, this is what I'm saving my Master Balls for. Even though it's kind of unlikely because I'm pretty confident I will be able to catch it, you really have no idea how RNG is going to be for you that day, and despite landing excellent curveballs with golden raspberries consistently, it can still run away. Now another choice you can go with is going to be the Galarian Birds, which actually many players have used their Master Balls on, because they have a low encounter rate, a low catch rate, and a high flee rate. That being said though, with the shinies now being available and the rumor of them actually not being able to run away, there might not be a reason to do this anymore unless you actually happen to run out of Pokeballs. We still don't know very much about the shiny rate or even the flee rate if there is one for the shiny Galarian Bird, so again, like depending on how things actually play out, the Master Ball might be a good choice for these Pokemon. but on the off chance if you can actually get them without having to use a Master Ball, then that's even better. Now outside of that though, there isn't really anything else that is going to be worthy of your Master Ball use. Like for purely cosmetic purposes, you could also use it on like a hundo that is meta relevant, because in the beginning of a PvP battle, like you do see the Pokeball thrown, and so it might be kind of cool to see the Master Ball each time when you actually use that Pokemon in PvP. But I would only use this on something like super rare, like a Hundo Shadow Mewtwo or even like a Shundo. If you guys have any other ideas on what you think a Master Ball could be used for though, let me know in the comment section down below. But I think the most practical use will be saving it for that last ball Hundo Legendary. Next up, let's go over the Galarian Slowpoke Spotlight Hour, which is going to be taking place on October 8th from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. local time. Now this Spotlight Hour is also going to have the special bonus of 2x Evolve experience, so if you do want to take advantage of this bonus, I would gather about 70 evolutions in a search tag per lucky egg. And then hopefully some of you guys did actually save your P-Dub from the Spotlight Hour on October 1st for some really cheap evolutions, and then from there you guys can take advantage of the experience gains. But you know, most players probably don't want to focus on that too much, because again, we do have friendship bonuses which are going to be way better experience. But you could always do a combination of the two, that's always an option. Now in terms of Galarian Slowpoke and its evolutions, they're really not great for anything in game, like no raid relevance, no PvP relevance, except for Galarian Slowbro, which does actually have some play in the Open Ultra League. You're going to need to have a lot of extra large candy for this Pokemon though, so this event could be good if you do want to grind that out. Otherwise, just focus on your experience gains and call it a day, or just skip it entirely. Now, one day after this event actually starts, we're also going to have the Calm Day for Sewaddle, which is going to take place from 2 to 5 p.m. local time. Normally, I do make separate videos going over these Calm Days, but because this one wasn't really that important, I figured I could just talk about it right now. So the bonuses are going to be as follows. We're going to get 3-hour lure modules and incense like normal. The special bonus is going to be 1/4 incubator distance. You're also going to get 2x catch candy, a 2x chance to receive extra large candy from catching Pokemon if you're level 31 or higher, 2 special trades instead of 1 special trade, and then every single trade is going to cost 50% less Stardust. You're going to get 5 free snapshots that are going to feature Sewaddle, and then you're also going to have the boosted shiny rate of 1 out of 25, which is always typical for Calm Days. Now in terms of premium items that we're going to have available in the shop, you're going to have the special research ticket, which is going to be available for $1. These usually do give you enough premium items back to actually make it worth the $1, and you can also gift these to your friends, so if you kind of want them to play with you during the event, it's a nice incentive that doesn't really cost too much, but at the end of the day, like if you don't get it, you're not really missing out on too much either. We're also going to have these special event boxes. The first one is going to be $13.50, which is going to give you 50 Ultra Balls, 5 Super Incubators, 5 Lucky Eggs, and Elite Charge TM. The Elite Charge TM is kind of the biggest appeal here, and the second box is going to be 480 Pokecoins. That's going to give you 30 Ultra Balls, 1 Incense, 1 Lure Module, and 3 Super Incubators. Now for those of you that are actually considering getting that $13.50 event box for the Elite Charge TM, I would highly recommend going through the web store instead, because there's going to be an Ultra Calm Day box that's going to give you the Elite Charge TM plus a special research ticket for only $5. Now I do want to remind you guys though that you can also get free Elite TMs from GBL every single season, so if you don't want to spend any money, this would be your next best option. Now finally, let's go over how good the final evolution for Sewaddle is going to be in Pokemon GO with the exclusive moveset Shadow Claw. So first of all, you're going to have between 2 to 10 p.m. to actually evolve your Sewaddle into Levani to get it with this moveset, but when it really comes down to this Pokemon in terms of meta relevance, it's not good in raids and it's not good in PvP. But there is always a possibility that it could become meta relevant in the future with a move shakeup. So for this Calm Day, I would recommend grabbing at least 1 good IV spread for Great League and then 1 good IV spread for Ultra League, a few shinies, and then pretty much you can call it a day after that. There's really no reason to go extra hard during this event. I mean, like the special bonus is 1/4 incubator distance. Like people aren't that into hatching eggs. I mean, trust me, they're really not. Now before we actually get into the best Pokemon to focus on during this event, I want to quickly go over PvP IVs and how they actually work. So basically you want to have low attack IVs and high defense and high stamina IVs. The reason for this is because this actually allows you to level up your Pokemon the most before it hits the CP limit for the Great League or the Ultra League. There are going to be some Pokemon that are exceptions to this because their max CP does not reach that limit, in which case you would just want to go with the best IVs possible, which is typically the Hundo. Now in this video specifically, we're going to be mainly focused on the 0-15-15 IV spread as a general one to aim for. If you do want to quickly pull up good IVs for Great League and Ultra League, I would recommend using this search string on screen right now. You can also find this in the description down below, but now let's actually cover which Pokemon are going to be the best to focus on during this event. So first up we have Nidoran Female, which evolves into Nidorina for the Great League. This is going to be the second stage form. If you actually want to build something fun for the Open Great League, you can definitely go with this Pokemon. Now like I just mentioned during the IVs section, this is going to be one of the exceptions where you actually want to have perfect IVs, since this Pokemon actually maxes out below 1500. Now if you actually evolve Nidoran Female all the way up to Nidoqueen, this Pokemon is also going to be meta relevant in the Open Ultra League and Open Great League metas. Its main relevance is going to be in the Open Ultra League currently, but it's also been a really great Pokemon to use in the Open Great League. Next up we're going to have Abra, which evolves into Alakazam. This is currently the best Psychic type Mega in the game right now until Mega Mewtwo is eventually released. It is definitely on the glassier side, but it's also on the rarer side of Pokemon that we don't really see that often during events. I've actually been trying to build up to 296 extra large candy for some time now. Abra also has a very high flea rate, so make sure to use raspberries on the high level ones if you do see them in the wild. I also want to mention that I probably wouldn't take this Pokemon past level 40 if you decide to invest into it. Following that, we have Magnemite, which evolves into Magnezone. This Pokemon has meta relevance in the Open Great League, the Ultra League, and in the Raid/Gym meta. After the recent changes to raids, Magnezone actually got a nice boost in the meta. Once again, with all the recent changes though, we don't know if this is going to stick, but for right now, it's actually looking even better than it did before. The Shadow variant is also going to be available from Team Go Rocket Grunt, so it does seem like a really great Pokemon to farm candy on during this event. On top of that, Magnezone also has play in the Open Great League and Ultra League metas, and you can even get dual functionality out of building the Shadow for the Open Ultra League since it does power up to around level 35. Following that, we have Spiel, which evolves into Walrein. This Pokemon has relevance in the Open Great League and Ultra League metas. Now, unfortunately, the biggest downside to this Pokemon is that it does require 2 legacy movesets in order for it to be meta relevant in these categories, so while the opportunity is definitely there to farm this Pokemon during this event, I would mainly just focus on getting some good IV spreads for the chance to evolve them in the future during an event where we can actually get the legacy movesets for free. The next Pokemon is by far one of the best ones that we actually featured during this event. That is going to be Beldum, which evolves into Metagross. We've actually had quite a few events featuring Beldum recently, and I know that some of you haven't actually been grinding out the candy, in which case this is going to be your opportunity to do so. This Pokemon has meta relevance in the Open Master League, the Raid/Gym meta, Dynamax battles, and also has a future Mega Evolution as well. So basically you want to be hunting down the best IVs possible on top of a bunch of candy. Like every single Beldum you see, guys, make sure to Pinot Berry it. But I would not recommend evolving any of your Beldum into Metagross during this event. I would actually save them until December Community Day, because you can actually get Meteor Mash, the Legacy Calm Day moveset, for free, because it actually had a Calm Day Classic earlier this year. So unless you have over 1,000 Beldum candy and over 300 extra large candy, there's literally zero reason to not farm this Pokemon. Speaking of farming though, let's actually focus on a Stardust boosted Pokemon that's going to be Foongus. Now when it comes down to this Pokemon, it doesn't really have any meta relevance, but it does offer boosted Stardust of 500 per catch, which with the weather boost is going to be 625. So this is definitely a Pokemon you want to catch every single time you see it. Make sure to also have some raspberries on hand, as it can be kind of difficult to catch the higher level ones, so I mean having the raspberries definitely helps assist with that. Now one of the rare spawns during this event is going to be Chansey, which is arguably one of the best gym defenders in the entire game. And I know that some of you guys out there don't really think that gym defenders are worth focusing on, but Chansey is one Pokemon that you absolutely need to focus on, guys. It benefits super well from the CP decay and also has really good defensive stats. It's arguably one of my favorite Pokemon to drop in gyms, and I can definitely tell you right now, it does help out a lot. Typically, Chansey is a pretty rare Pokemon to find in the wild, so if you do end up encountering some, make sure to Pinot Berry them. Next up, let's go over the one Galarian bird that is actually meta relevant in the game right now. That's going to be Galarian Moltres, which actually has relevance in the Open Great League and Ultra League metas. The reason for this is because Sucker Punch got boosted during the recent meta shakeup for Season 20, which actually bumped up Galarian Moltres a decent amount in PvP. Like, it's actually ranked number 24 right now in the Open Ultra League, man. That's crazy good. Now, I know it's a long shot that you're actually going to get good IVs for this Pokemon in regards to PvP, but if you do, it's going to be a super good investment right now. Next up, let's go over some of the new Dynamax Pokemon that we're going to have featured in raid battles right now, max battles right now. So first up, let's go over the Gen 8 starters, Grookey, Scorbunny, and Sobble. So similar to the Kanto starters that we just recently had featured, Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle, these Pokemon are also going to have special Gigantamax forms in the future. Now, how that mechanic is actually going to work in Pokemon GO is still very much unknown, but at the very least, it is really important to focus on getting good IVs on them in the present timeline. We really have no idea when we're going to have these Pokemon featured again after this rotation, so you really want to focus on getting the good IVs now, so that you can actually get their legacy movesets for free when we actually get their Calm Days. Again, most likely sometime next year. Now, the other Dynamax Pokemon I want to talk about is going to be Dynamax Falinks. So currently, we are very limited on the Pokemon that we do have available to use for these Dynamax raids or max battles, and when it comes down to Falinks, this is going to be the first fighting type Pokemon that we're going to have available. So at the very minimum, I would recommend grabbing at least 3 of these to have on hand. You don't need to power them up, I would just have them available with double fighting type movesets to use against future raid bosses. Now, I have been researching the possibility of doing this raid boss solo, and to be honest, the requirements are far too high in my opinion for most players. Like, it is possible to solo this Pokemon, but players were actually using multiple level 40 counters like Charizard, and I'm just like, dude, that is a really high investment right now. I don't think I want to invest that much just to do this Pokemon solo. So instead of actually focusing on the solo for this Pokemon, I would just recommend going in with at least 2 trainers to take this down. Remember, once you actually get 3 of these, you can stop raiding this and focus back on the Galarian starters. But outside of that, that's basically every single Pokemon I think is worth focusing on during this event. If you feel like I missed anything, let me know in the comment section down below, but I do still have some more tips and tricks to go over to help you guys out with this event. So first of all, for any of the Pokemon that I just mentioned that you are interested in, I want to remind you that we do currently have the seasonal bonus of guaranteed extra large candy from trading Pokemon if you are level 31 or higher. So make sure to take advantage of this every single day if possible, especially on some of the rarer Pokemon like Chansey. The other seasonal bonus that we're going to have available right now is going to be 1.5 times friendship experience. This is by far the best way to get experience in the game right now. So basically I'm gonna break it down, right? So instead of getting 3,000 experience for hitting good friends, it's 4.5 thousand experience. For ultra friends, 50,000, it's actually 75,000. For best friends, instead of 100,000, it's 150,000. And you can actually double this using lucky eggs as well. So for ultra friends, you can get 150,000. For best friends, you can actually get 300,000 experience, which is pretty crazy. So at minimum, guys, make sure that you are opening all of your gifts every single day to increase your friendship. You know, send gifts as often as possible. And once you're actually out of gifts as well, your buddy Pokemon will actually bring you 5 gifts occasionally. I've actually had this happen anywhere from 1 to 3 times a day. One more tip that I also want to mention for opening gifts is to hit the X button really quickly to actually skip the animation. A lot of players don't actually know about this, but it saves you so much time when you're opening all those gifts. Next up, let's go over the best Mega Evolution you want to have active during this event for the candy bonuses. So for this event, it's looking like the Psychic type Mega would actually benefit you the most. So for those options, you can go with Alakazam, Slowbro, Gardevoir, Medicham, Latios, Latias, and Rayquaza. Any of those would be fine. Whichever one you actually have at Mega Level 3, I would prioritize that one over the others for increased candy and extra large candy. Now, for those of you guys who are newer players, if you don't have any of those Megas that I just mentioned, you know, you can just have Mega Blaziken active during this event once you get enough energy for it. Now, finally, to wrap up things for this video, I want to go over how to actually get more spawns from your daily adventure incense. So this daily adventure incense lasts 15 minutes, and it's free to use every day in game. You can also extend this duration or essentially pause the timer by using the adventure effect from Dialga Origin Form, which is called Roar of Time. This was an exclusive moveset only available during the Sinnoh event, and it cannot be Elite TM'd. So if you don't actually have access to this Pokemon with this moveset, the only way to get it right now is from trading it. But essentially this adventure effect pauses the timer on your Incense, Star Piece, and your Lucky Egg in 6-minute increments at the cost of 5 Dialga Candy and 5,000 Stardust. I'll be completely honest with you guys, it's definitely on the expensive side. I mean, if you wanted to pause it for like 1 hour, that'd be 60,000 Stardust and 60 Dialga Candy, which is kind of resource intensive, right? Like that's definitely a lot of resources just used for 1 hour. Now, regardless of using Roar of Time though, you can actually get 2 spawns every single minute while using your daily adventure incense. This also works for regular incense as well. So you basically want to be walking in a straight line at brisk pace, and if done correctly, you should get a new spawn about every 30 seconds. For the normal duration of a daily adventure incense, this means that you can get 30 potential chances for free of an encounter with a Galarian bird. Now again, they're really hard to encounter, so you're probably not going to encounter 1 in 30, but if you do continue to do this every single day, you have a better chance. Now for those of you guys out there with enough resources to be using Roar of Time, you can actually get up to 120 spawns per hour if done correctly. Now personally speaking, I'm probably not going to be using Roar of Time during this event, but I'm definitely going to be going out for walks every day to maximize my chances of seeing a Galarian bird. We don't know for sure if they're going to have a better chance to be encountered during this event specifically. I don't think it's really going to make that much of a difference. So like I mentioned earlier, guys, like the shiny forms for these Pokemon are going to be available moving forward. So when it really comes down to it, you don't have to go that crazy for them during this event. Anyways, that's pretty much everything that I have for you guys in this video. There was a lot to get through, but if you do want to check out some more content, I'm going to recommend these 2 videos right here. And before you go, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you all real soon in the next one.